Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasala with Audioholics. We have a very special YouTube video for you today. We are celebrating 20 years. 20 years of being online, my friends. Back in 1999, I think it was April 18th, the exact date, is when I registered the domain for audioholics.com, and everything else has been history since then. I honestly can't believe it's been that long. I can't believe, am I really getting that much older? Come on, guys. Do you really think I look like I've been doing this for 20 years? Please be nice in the comments. Anyways, it's been a hell of a ride, my friends. We've been through a lot. We've learned a lot. We've had some great impacts in the industry in the last couple of decades. Wanted to tell you a little bit stories about how I started Audioholics and how I got my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. We're going to bring her in here. Come over here, camera girl.
You got me.
She's so cool. She's got her sunglasses on. It's not just because she's cool. She's very sensitive to light.
I do want to see you guys. I do. Believe me. I just can't look at the light.
So this is Birthday Audioholics. She's the one that's behind the camera. She's the one that's behind our social media, behind all of our accounts management, behind
That's
coordinating our events.
I'm the behind the scenes person. And I kind of enjoy it as well. Lots going on.
She also gave me the motivation to keep going because, to be frank with you guys, when I started Audioholics, it was really, I did it kind of as a hobby thing. I was talking to her one night. I was like, I got this idea for a website online. I like the name Audioholics. I think it sounds good because it starts with an A. It'll be at the top of the search engines when you do a listing.
And I remember that conversation to this day.
Yeah.
It was very meaningful that you can pursue a hobby to this level and still enjoy it.
Well, and it was a hobby for the first couple of years. I wasn't making a dime doing this stuff, guys. I really did it as I did it for two reasons. I did it because I was just getting out of college. I just started being an engineer. I didn't have all the money to play with to buy all this equipment. So I wanted to do what is known in Star Trek as a Kobayashi Maru. Yes. I wanted to change the conditions of the test. I wanted to figure out a way to have manufacturers send me gear that I could play with, I could test, and I could criticize when needed and tell these guys how to make this stuff better. Because that's always what it's about for me. I always wanted to see how we can make products better because ultimately I want the best stuff in my house. And today, 20 years later, I'm fortunate enough to say that I've got some of the best equipment in the industry in this room. And a lot of it is because of all the elbow work and grease I've done in the last 20 years, working with these companies, and working with their products and giving them feedback and using my engineering skill set that I learned in college, that I learned at working at companies, telecom companies like Paradigm and Raytheon. It's given me a unique skill set.
Indeed.
Kind of like Liam Neeson's skill set in Taken. It's that kind of skill set, my friend. So I'm very particular on how I like to evaluate whether it's amplifiers, speakers, or subwoofers. And, so I started it so I could play with the gear. I also started it because I had a brother that was older than me, and he already had a home theater. Yeah. And we were always in competition with my brother Steven and I.
We love you.
Yeah, we do. So we were always in competition to see who could one-up each other. And I figured, you know what, I could do it by just getting all this equipment. And then it just came to a point where he just put his hand down. He's like, I'm out. He goes, you're getting way beyond where I want to go. When I started getting, 200 or 300 pound speakers as my reference speakers, it got a little crazy. So I wanted to go over some of the most memorable times that I recall doing Audioholics. I would say one of them is, we've had a lot of impact on bass management in products and how receivers particularly work. Years ago, back when Denon came out with their 7-channel receivers, I was only using 5 channels at the time because it was 5.1. I didn't have back channels. So I jerry-rigged it using the preamp outputs and finding the right level match. And I did the first bi-amping. I think it was on the 3805. And then I did it on the AVR 5803. And then I put this on our reviews, and then we put it in the forums, and we got like 100 or 200,000 views in that forum thread in a matter of a month. People were doing it themselves. They were bi-amping the front channels with the unused channels. It became so popular that Denon, in their successor models after those models, made it a standard feature in their receivers. And then, of course, whatever Denon did, Yamaha had to do because they were in competition with each other. So Yamaha had a bi-amp feature, then Pioneer had a bi-amp feature, then everybody is doing the bi-amp feature. Unfortunately, it was a little bit abused, and you're seeing it in like 500-pound $500 20-pound receivers, which is stupid because the power supplies aren't big enough to even benefit
Definitely not.
from doing the bi-amping.
Hey, as long as they don't throw a fifth foot in it.
Yeah, the Yamaha fifth foot, that's another topic of discussion.
That was a very fun time at these shows talking about that extra foot.
Yeah, we had a good time. That's another thing I remember is we've gotten a lot of personal invites, whether it was a Yamaha personal dealer invite or a Sound United. Well, now it's Sound United, but back in the day it was Denon. They would run their private dealer events and they would invite us to them. I also did a lot of on locations. We went to Canada. We visited speaker companies there. I went to Lawrence. I visited Martin Logan. I got to sit down and listen to the $80,000 Neoliths, the Martin Logan Neoliths.
Impressive.
That was really an impressive speaker. What I remember from that demo was one word: mesmerizing. So we had some great stuff, visiting manufacturers, meeting some, industry icons. We've had some excellent guys in the industry writing for us. Dr. Floyd Toole from Harman has contributed so much to the site.
Thank you, Dr. Floyd.
Yeah, he's really done a lot in demystifying loudspeaker stuff and really getting into the multi-sub, the advantages of multi-sub and sound field management and just real world acoustic stuff. So I have to thank guys like Dr. Floyd Toole and Sean Olive because they've done a lot of behind the scenes with peer reviewing our stuff. And in fact, they've also helped us perfect our loudspeaker measurement standard. Mm-hmm. And I'm very particular about making sure that we measure our products fairly and, consistently, whether it's a loudspeaker or subwoofer or an amplifier. I worked with the guys at Audio Precision. I worked on my amplifier measurement standard. And that's where I'm trying to keep the guys honest because you're looking at these receivers coming out now, especially the Atmos ones, when they're cranking as many amplifiers into that same size chassis. A chassis that was really designed for a 5 or 7 channel amp now has 11 channels in the same size chassis with the same size power supply. Rather than derating the power, they're inflating the power by giving you bogus ratings. So of course we're keeping them honest. We're calling it out when we see it. We're measuring it. We're measuring it with the Audio Precision when we do. So that's another cool thing that we're doing is we just have all these tools at our disposal to make sure that we give you the objective facts. So what were some stories, if you want to give us a story of what you remember, your most favorite time at Audioholics in the 20 years?
Well, I do remember a funny story. You might have to help me with the name of it because I tend to forget names. I'm not as technical as you are. Mm-hmm. But I remember when I was expecting our first daughter and we were living at your parents' house while building our other house, we had a very nice guest come over and take us out for a ride to a delicious restaurant in Clearwater Beach. And he brought the first pair of amps you were in love with.
Oh, you're talking about Tony Federici from Aragon.
Federici.
Yes, that was a special time.
His son came along, and that was quite a very unique and intimate adventure.
Yeah, that was. He's one of the guys. I'd have to give him credit, and Bruce Bernstein from Yamaha, and Shane Rich from RBH Sound. These are the guys that kind of pushed me to go and actually turn Audioholics from a hobby side into something that could actually make money. And having Tony Federici there, and he dropped off the Aragon separates. This was a sound stage, and their 5-channel giant amplifier was 2 feet deep, and this was a big-ass amplifier with a giant power supply. Very high bias in Class A, so you could cook an egg on it. And this is where I started the troubleshooting, because when I got their units in, and this was their processors, Dolby Digital DTS, I started finding all these operational bugs, just holding the remote in one hand and doing something keystrokes. And they're like, how are you even finding this stuff? I just have the karma of finding errors in systems. I've always done that. So they left me this equipment, and for months I started finding all these different issues, and then they would fix the firmware. But back in the day, you didn't have Ethernet or RS-232 type of communication to update your firmware. I had to actually pull an EEPROM off the board and put a new one in. So that was a nice experience because I got to help them make that product better. I got my foot in the door because these guys were in the industry. Aragon and Acurus was an American household name for audio. So by partnering with them and helping them out, I got to meet all these other great companies. I started working also with Yamaha and Denon, RBH again, and then we got involved with Paradigm, and it's just, just kind of cascaded, and now we're working with all the legitimately good companies out there. And in fact, if you notice, what we've always done over the last 2 decades is we've debunked nonsense, specifically around cables. And I've gotten a lot of threats. I've had phone calls from, and I won't mention... I won't mention
bunch.
names. I won't mention names. I'll be nice. But I've had cable companies, the owners of cable companies, call and threaten. She actually threatened my wife. I
Yeah.
wasn't home at the time, where I would have had fun with that kind of call. But I've gotten threatened because I've debunked certain things about speaker cable resonance, or this bullshit about putting a battery on your cable. So I've taken some heat for that. I've taken some heat years ago when I was debunking crap that I found inside of a really cheaply made speaker that all the press was glowing over. And you know, I took it apart and I saw all the different design deficiencies. Now, to everybody's defense in the industry, I've kind of calmed down a little bit. I'm not as much of a loose cannon as I used to be. I try to
Control, balance.
I try to be more balanced or more fair, and try not to be in your face as much, because I do want to work with everybody. And quite frankly, there are companies that don't know sometimes that they're not doing something great. So, and this is why every time we do editorial content on the site, we always have it peer reviewed. You don't find that in a lot of magazines. You'll find a lot of magazines will just publish whatever they find, and it's live. I actually send my reviews over. And the same thing would happen with the Lexicon Blu-ray player. I sent them that review before we published it to say, hey, this is an Oppo this is a Lexicon, your Lexicon box with an Oppo player inside of it. Please confirm. And I gave them the chance to peer review that before I published the article. So I always give everybody a fair shot, and if they want to actually reply on the reviews, if they find factual errors or whatever, I'll either correct it or I'll let them go in the forums. I keep it very open because I do make a ton of mistakes. I admit the mistakes I make. I'm definitely not perfect. My wife, of course, she's perfect.
Oh, thank you. We don't like spreading Easter eggs around without a real reason.
Yeah. So, you know, we try to keep everything real, keep everything honest. I do have to give some shout outs to our current review staff. We've had some great people writing for us. I do miss some of the old writers we had. And in many cases, we have guys writing for us that are so talented, I can't keep them on full time to give them what they want. So they wind up working in the industry. You know, had like guys like Josh Rickey, who has his own website now, Database. He was awesome. He helped me come up with the subwoofer measurement standard. Marshall Guthrie, we love Marshall. He really helped modernize our YouTube channel. But he's got his own thing. He's working at schools full time.
We love you, Marshall.
Love you, Marshall. We just had some awesome writers. Steve Munns, he's on our forum still. He used to be a great contributor to the site, but I think he's got enough audio equipment in his house now that he just doesn't feel motivated to write about it anymore. That's fine.
He's in a retirement phase right
Yeah,
now.
sometimes I burn people out because I ask them to do too much.
That's
But some of
Paul.
yeah, some of our current writers that I'd like to give shout outs to, you know, we have James Larson. James, you're like a robot, man. I've never actually met you face to face, but it's pretty awesome the stuff you do for us. I'd like to personally thank you for the meticulousness you put into the detail, not only in your reviews, but in your measurements, in your pictures.
I was just going to say that his photos are amazing.
Yeah, everything has to be documented with him. I love that about you, James. It's
Details.
awesome. And then we have Teo.
Nikolakis.
See, I can't say his name. I'm sorry. I'm glad you said it. Teo, you're awesome. Teo's like, there's two people that I've met that I think are the most positive, happy people in the world. And Teo's one of them, and then Shane Rich from RBH Sound is the other. And we had a nice off between them. And I think Teo won the nice off because Shane acquiesced. So in reality, maybe Shane is the nicest because he gave up. So I don't know. The jury's still out on that one. But
Shane's how to help everybody. Just how he is.
yeah, we love people like that. So Teo does awesome stuff with, he's really into immersive surround sound. I think he's got like 20 speakers in the ceiling in his basement. He did that just for us so he could test all three
Yes, he did.
formats, Aural 3D, DTS-X, and Dolby Atmos. He has it all configured so he could test all three formats. He drilled holes in his ceiling like it's Swiss cheese and put every kind of speaker configuration you could think of. Teo, we thank you for doing that. He's also covering displays for us because display technology moves so quickly that I'm just throwing, you know, all of that kind of work at him because he also works for other websites as well where he's doing that kind of stuff. So we appreciate you on that with Teo. And then we have Wade Robeson. Now, Wade's been with us since, I think, about 2003.
Yes.
Kind of on the sidelines doing little articles here or there. But you know what? He's got the pulse on the industry. He's got all the new news items that are coming out, whether it's about Apple, whether they've acquired another company, or CBS is doing something lame again with their streaming service and how they're ruining Star Trek Discovery by turning it into a social justice warrior nonsense. Wade covers all that stuff for us.
He's our storyteller.
He's our storyteller. He keeps all the industry news coming to me because I can't always keep up with that stuff. So Wade, we appreciate everything you're doing there. And he's from Canada. He's one of our Canadian friends.
Yes, he is.
So I just don't know. Does your head flap up and down like they do in South Park? You know, you gotta show me that anyways. So another person I'd like to thank, and he's my cousin. A lot of you guys probably don't realize this,
Longevity.
but Tony Leota. He's been with us almost since the beginning. And Tony's been a lot behind the scenes. He's been posting content for us. And he started doing reviews. He's doing a lot of the sound bars. He's doing, you know, the portable speaker technology, wireless. And he's doing some of the trade show coverage for us as well. So Tony,
Yes.
we love you, man.
We love you, Tony.
He's a marine biologist by day. He's an audiophile at night. And we appreciate that. And then we have Jacob Green. And Jacob is probably
Our newest edition.
Jacob is quick at getting us quick press release tie-in of articles and turning them into something more interesting. His writing is flawless. I almost never have to do any editing at all. I really appreciate that, Jacob, because it's awesome. He'll get me any news article I need on new products, whether it's speakers, receivers, or the new Apple stuff that's coming out. So Jacob is one of our most frequent writers you'll see on the home page. And then we've got Steve Feinstein, and Steve is one of the industry guys. He's been in the industry forever. He worked at Boston Acoustics. He's worked at Atlantic Technologies. He's been around the industry. He's seen all there is to see when it comes to the audio from the 70s up until now. I love his perspective. We also had a similar guy that was writing for us in the past called Paul Scorpelli. He was one of the managing guys at Triad Speakers. I think he was the president of Triad, to be honest with you. He has done some great articles for us, the history of audio stuff, turntable stuff. He's a very pragmatist kind of person, so he gives you that.
Even with his cars and his drumming.
Yeah, and he's a drummer too. He's got some great drumming. So we're really appreciative to have people like Steve and Paul that have contributed to the website. And now we have also Kevin Garcia. He's kind of a hobbyist guy that's into audio. He's an engineer as well. And he's doing some of the portable audio stuff for us and some of the really high-end speaker previews and little listening demos and headphones and stuff like that. So we've got a great list of writers here. We have Xavier's coming on board with us. He's going to be covering turntables. He's going to be covering, you know, the 2-channel stuff, because we had such a great show at the Florida Expo that we covered, and we saw how popular that 2-channel still is among a very small niche, but it's still there. In fact, the Florida Expo is going to be even bigger next year. I heard they're going to have like 70 demo rooms. So
same place too.
Same place in Tampa. So make sure you guys come to that. We'll be covering that. And I think that wraps it up about that. The only thing I want to tell you guys before I say goodbye is we are running a Marantz contest right now. Marantz actually teamed up with us. They were so happy to see we're online for 20 years. They're giving away a brand new SR6013 9.2 channel Atmos, 4K, DTS:X, Auro 3D. You name it, it's got everything but the kitchen sink. It probably does have the kitchen sink at this point. I'm sure that's an upgrade option. $1,500 receiver. We're giving it away on our forums right now. It's a very popular contest. I think we've got like 28 pages of feedback in this contest thread. You guys better register now because it's up at the end of April is when we're going to be announcing the winner. And unfortunately, you have to be either a USA or a Canadian citizen. So if you're out of the country, unfortunately, you can't participate in that. So sorry for my international friends, but we do what we can. So please make sure you check that out. Register for that contest when you can. And guys, give us some love on Patreon. If you want to have access to ask me questions, or you want to suggest certain video topics, or you want to see content early in advance, become a patron on our channel. It's patreon.com/audioholics. We'll give you some benefits that other YouTube subscribers and readers of our site don't get. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope we're around for another 20 years so we could do another video like this. By then we'll have hologram technology or something like that.
And as we're saying, I do manage the social media content of the website. So if you have any tips, any ideas, how can we improve it? What else would you like to see? Just give us a shout out. Anywhere you like in any type of medium, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, we'll be happy to see what we can do about it.
All right, guys. Well, with that said, I want you to keep listening, but At the very end of this video, there's going to be a little surprise video, a little surprise guest that you guys have been asking about.
Yes.
So make sure you don't just click off our channel yet. Watch the end of the video. And my friends, until next time, keep listening.
Yeah.
We have a very special guest today. A lot of people on our YouTube channel are saying, "Where's Hugo?" It's almost like it's "Where's Waldo?" but a guy that's Waldo that's jacked up. So without further ado, here's Hugo.
Hey, how are you doing, guys? Love to be back over here doing a video with everybody celebrating the 20 years of Audioholics. 20 glorious years, Gene. How do you feel about that? I mean, 20 years. I remember when we were back in engineering and I predicted big things coming your way. Did I not?
Yes, you did. You were a prophet.
I was Nostradamus, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't believe it's been 20 years, and geez, man, at sometimes I feel old, like Captain Kirk did in Star Trek 2. But then I think about it, we keep ourselves in good shape, we eat well. I kind of feel like at the end of Star Trek 2 when he felt young again after the Genesis planet was born. And
Exactly.
we're still ready to take on all the bullshit in the industry. We're still here. We're doing well. Our YouTube channel's thriving. So I thought it'd be cool to just give a little history about you and I, because we've been together for a long time, man. We've been, workout partners in college. We're in similar classes, both being engineers. Um, do you remember when you came on to Audioholics to help me out? Because we were in dire need about 17 years ago, man. Our site we had no web designer. It was just a string of mess.
I totally remember. In fact, it was interesting because it was my brother who taught me a little bit of web design, because back in the day, the web was so new that, as you remember, Gene, most of the doctors of engineering in my computer engineering department didn't even know how to put a website together, which is really mind-boggling when you think about it. But I called my brother and he's like, "Oh man, that's easy. You just use some HTML." So he taught me HTML. And I learned that stuff. And then, when you and I were working together, I told you, it's like, "Hey man, I can totally help you with your site. We can do this change, we can do the other change, etc., etc." And we started working together and we turned Audioholics into something really, really nice. I remember.
Yeah, it was a challenging time, man. And it's still challenging because now I'm using a proprietary content management system that nobody's really using anymore, but it's very secure. It's a system that, like the government uses. So it's hard to break through. Not that I'm asking anyone to try to tap into my site.
Please don't.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's hard to make changes. It's hard to keep up with Google. Google's always a moving target. They're always trying to screw with their algorithm and make you play guessing games as to figure out how to become popular again or how to reinvent yourself again. So with that challenge, with dealing with Google SEO, which I could do a whole video on in itself, and probably since Google owns YouTube now, they'll probably take it down because of all the freaking negative thoughts I have about that damn place. Let's not digress onto Google and their algorithms.
Let's not get our legs broken, dude. I know we're jacked up and stuff, but these people show up with the Men in Black and we're screwed.
I'm more worried about them just freaking turning off the switch and I have no more Audioholics, and bye, I'm back in a cube farm.
Come on, cyber heaven.
Yeah. So, you and I both came from a similar background. We both worked. If you ever watched the movie The Office Space, that was us, dude. We were sitting in a cube. We were doing TPS reports.
TPS report.
Yeah, we had 8 different bosses, and I'm like, you know what? The funny thing about you, Hugo, is you actually had a date when you were quitting your job, because we worked together. We both worked at a telecom company together called Paradigm, which is long out of business now. Gone. Audioholics has lasted longer than Paradigm, okay? That's bad. But you had a date when you were quitting, and you lived by that date. And then you told me a year later you were going to rescue me.
Yes, that's right. In fact, I decided to quit December 5 of 2002, actually. And when that day came, the reason for that date is my birthday. And oddly enough, Gene, it's kind of interesting because the company apparently was in agreement, because that was the big day of the big final layoffs, because the company got hostile acquisition or some crap like that, right? And next thing you know, everybody ended up, kind of laid off. And I was one of those people. And I was like, listen, this is great. We're on the same page, because I was going to quit today anyways.
Well, when I left, I worked government defense after when you left, and I was already at a Paradigm. I was trying to get laid off, and they wouldn't lay me off. It's like the more I tried, the more they wanted to keep me, and they tried to pull me back in. But I knew I was ready. I knew I was ready to take Audioholics to the next level. I couldn't work as an engineer anymore and do Audioholics. My mind was set to do home theater, to do the writing. All of a sudden I became a technical writer more than a design engineer. I just didn't want to sit in a cube anymore. I wanted to actually evoke change in the industry, and that's, I set my mind to it, and sure enough, around 2003 is when I left, and I've been doing Audioholics since. Knock on wood.
So a year after, just everything as predicted, we laid out the plan all the way back in that last summer that we spent in engineering school. And I told you when you did that, it was an amplifier, your senior project, I think.
It was. I did a full differential class AB amplifier, brought in a speaker and a CD player, and I was playing Depeche Mode, Music for the Masses, and cranking out the entire engineering department that day.
That's when I predicted. I said, listen, Gene, we're going to go ahead and work engineering for a few years. And after that, we're breaking out of the cube.
Yeah, we went through 5 or 6 years of engineering school so we could just one day quit and do something really not related, but that's okay. It just passed the time.
What the heck? I mean, we were just not meant to be in the cube. That's not our personality. You know how it is.
You can't keep a bird down. It has to fly.
Remember how we used to say, give me liberty or give me death?
That's very, very prophetic. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that I've had a YouTube channel, I think, since 2010, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, around. It's been almost
2010.
2010 is when we started it, but it was kind of like it was just there. I mean, we had it to defense of the people that were working on our YouTube channel. We had Andrew Gash doing the videos along with Clint. The video production quality was superb. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I can't touch. You and I both make videos like we're in the ghetto.
Oh, yeah, we do. Our shit is ghettoed up. Let's be very honest.
Our video production quality sucks, and we get called out on it all the time.
We're not video guys. I'm sorry. Okay?
I don't give a crap, to be honest with you. And people could keep complaining all they want, but the point of the matter is, once you and I got involved with this channel, and we had our dialogue back and forth like we're doing now, it was a game changer, man. We watched our subscription rate just go through the roof. We watched the views go through the roof. And today, this YouTube channel gets 500,000 viewers a month. That's a lot for a little niche audio website. And we've got over 80,000 subscribers.
80,000. It's amazing. I mean,
We went from 5,000 subscribers back in 2010 all the way to about 2014 is when you got involved.
right,
And we went
right.
from 5,000 subscribers to over 80,000 subscribers in what, 5 years?
5 years. Yeah. And the minutes of views are just ridiculous. I lost count. I mean, the minutes of views now per month, it's insane. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to say that I'm surprised, because I figure that the minute you and I will start talking and, kind of like, ruffling the feathers and stuff like that, people will go ahead and watch us, But it was amazing to actually see a thought become a reality, because when you see the numbers completely skyrocket in the way that they did, well, many other YouTube channels tried so hard and they had so much better production quality, and yet the content wasn't there. That's the difference. When the content is not there, I don't care what your production quality is, you're not going to resonate with people, and people are not going to go ahead and come back to watch you, So that's
No,
the difference.
and the thing is, we try to keep it real. We try to keep it informative and entertaining. And I look at what's going on in the industry, or just not even in our industry, but in other industries as well. I mean, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, man. He's on TikTok now doing these little videos where he's chasing his goat on his bicycle, and he's getting millions of views from it. And it's cracking me up. The guy's 70 something years old, and he's going on to this kind of a kids app. It's a new thing. It's a new thing that's coming on board, and he's already on it, and he's already covering it. And you got to look forward. You got to see what the next trend is, and you got to kind of pick up on it and make it your own.
Exactly. And that's one thing that has made Arnold so successful. The guy can adapt, and the guy can see things coming when other people are still sleeping, so he jumps on it immediately. That's why he's been so successful,
Absolutely.
I think
So the other thing I think that really differentiated our YouTube channel versus the other audio channels And it's weird because in other industries, like in the car industry, you could get critics that really will rip apart a new car and tell you how bad the car is, or even in the movie industry, you see the bad reviews of movies. But for some reason in the audio industry, everything has to be flowery and chocolatey, and it has to be the best sounding speaker I've ever heard. This new product I got in is better than anything I've ever heard, until next month when the next model comes out. Then that's the best that they've ever heard. And back, was it like 2015 when Dolby announced Atmos?
The bouncy speakers, as we
It
call them,
it
romper
wasn't.
room shit.
That's the thing, is Atmos was great, and people, we took a lot of flack because they thought we were anti-Atmos. We were never anti-Atmos. We were
Never.
never an anti-technology, a surround format. I love Atmos. I've got Atmos in 2 out of 3 of my systems currently in my home theater over here in my house. It was the bouncy house crap, the romper room.
Yeah,
Cracked me up about that is that most of the press was verbatim repeating the press releases from Dolby as if it was their own or unique idea. The greatest breakthrough in 20 years. That's all I heard about. I heard it on AVS Forum, was lit up their entire website with bouncy house speakers and how this was going to be the greatest breakthrough, better than air condition. Forget about air condition. Forget about the wheel. This is better than the wheel.
this
That's
is
how
the
they made it sound.
next step in audio evolution.
Yeah. So, we of course got some of those Atmos speakers in, that little paper wizard cone special that Dolby was licensing to other manufacturers. And we uncovered a little bit of a scam that they were trying to license the technology with an analog crossover, and it was very questionable, the effectiveness of that crossover, the head related transfer function that it tried to simulate, which is already built into the pinna of our ears, and you
Exactly.
don't need to go through all that craziness. And we're sitting here now 5 years later, and I'm wondering to myself, where are all the bouncy house speakers?
Gone. The trend disappeared.
I just don't see people putting it in their houses. And then I talk to, some of the big companies that sell AV receivers, and they're telling me 90 to 95% of installs are still 5 or 7.1. And the ones that are doing Atmos are usually doing discrete, the better approach, in ceiling speakers.
Exactly. Exactly. Because if you want sound from a location, you
You
put
put
the
it.
damn speaker in that location.
That's right. And now the other thing that I'm seeing is you're getting people saying, "Oh, I want to add more and more speakers," and they're starting to put, not just 5.1.4, 7.1.4. Now they want to do 9.1.6, and they're trying to do, 15 to 20 channels. And in most rooms, most home theater rooms that are medium-sized rooms, I'm talking like a 25 by 20 room or a 30 by 20 room. That's a pretty big room. The problem when you start throwing in more than 11 speakers is these speakers are so closely spaced
Right.
together that you lose the whole benefit of the separation of the different sound sources.
Exactly.
And it just
Exactly.
gets all blended together anyway.
Well, Gene, you know what's happening? It's the same disturbing trend that you see in competitive bodybuilding. And I'm going to get some flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Bigger is better. And I don't
Right.
agree with that philosophy. You gotta, it has to be mass with class, mass with quality. Same thing with sound. Not always adding more speakers is the best solution for your particular situation. It really depends on the room acoustics, on the how big the room is, because obviously, like he just rightfully said, if your room is little, there's only so much you can go ahead and handle in terms of speakers and sound. You have a rate limiting factor over there, right? So you gotta think strategically when you're setting up your home theater. That's the ticket right there. And I think a lot of people are just getting caught up with the hype of let's have more speakers, let's have more speakers. But hey, if you live in a little box, no offense, I mean, you cannot go ahead and put more than a regular sound system. That's it.
Yeah,
Just
and in that case, less is more. You really
exactly.
have to focus on placement, the quality of the speakers, the setup, getting the right room acoustics and the right positioning of everything really makes or breaks. And the other factor is, even the highest definition audio and video you can get right now is Ultra HD Blu-ray, and the surround is limited to 7.1.4. So you're not going to have more than 4 overheads. You remember when Dolby said this was a fully object-oriented sound? that
Right.
they could play sound anywhere in any location, that it's speaker agnostic.
That was crazy.
It never worked out that way because you're still dealing with channels, and the format now that's in consumer audio for Dolby Atmos and even DTS-X right now is limited to 7.1.4. So if you're doing more than 7.1.4 in the home market, you're deriving those extra channels, you're matrixing those channels, which might not be a bad thing, but let's be honest, it's not discrete.
No, it's not discrete at all, and that's what people don't seem to understand yet, Gene. I think they get the impression that they're really and truly getting 9 channels when that's not the case. That's not the case at all. They're limited by what the system offers.
Yeah, and I say if you could do 2 overhead speakers at the very minimum, you're ahead of the game because we love Atmos. Like I said, the thing I like about Atmos the most is if you have non-Atmos source material, like if you just have regular 5.1 or even 2 channel, if you're watching like an old Netflix thing that's not in surround sound, the up mixer for Atmos is excellent. And I really think it's an improvement over the past up mixers. And I listen to, various programs that are in 2 channel and I throw it on the Atmos up mixer, and that simulated surround is really damn good with the overheads and everything else. So there's definitely benefit if you're on the if you're on the fence about going from 5.1 or 7.1 to 7.1.4, and you could put the in-ceiling speakers and get the new receiver, it's well worth the investment. And I'll tell people over and over again, as long as you don't oversaturate your room with speakers, we have various guidelines on our site that tell you the angles that the speakers need to be. And you don't have to follow it like it's a biblical source. You just have to use it as a rule of thumb. A lot of people think you got to have the exact angles. That was what, yeah, that was what always cracked me up about Dolby. When they first came out with Atmos, they had all these very specific angles with the discrete speakers. But then they told you, if you got a bouncy house speaker, put it anywhere.
Anywhere works, because apparently, if you remember, Gene, the sound wave was intelligent. Apparently, it has some sort of AI.
Put it by your fish tank.
Put it in that fish tank. It's gonna come to your ear in the right angle.
Yeah. So we had a lot of fun with that, Hugo. Those videos are still popular on our YouTube channel, and of course we did other stuff. We debunked the cable nonsense, and
Yeah.
I did a video recently with Don Dunn on why audiophiles hate Bose, and we got 500,000 views on that video, man, in a couple of months.
Amazing.
So I do want to say, Hugo, I thank you for all your involvement in Audioholics and helping our YouTube channel get popular the way it is, because you were kind of my muse. You got me talking about the stuff. I wasn't as rigid as I used to be. I kind of came out of my shell, and I miss having you on our channel. And I'm gonna try to volunteer you to start coming back, even through Google Hangouts like we're doing now, just to do little guest appearances every now and then, because people keep asking. You're a celebrity, dude. You're internet famous.
I'm internet famous. Yes, my fan page, I'm up to 1.1 million people following me on my fan page.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's
because of all the bodybuilding stuff. You're an accomplished author. I mean, now you're a real estate agent. If you want to buy a house, go to Hugo.
And I'm coming out with my new book, which incidentally, I'm going to go ahead and give you this new book. It's going to be an ebook. I'm not going through publishers anymore because, let's face it, there's no bookstores to buy books anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and give you an affiliate link so you can go ahead and put it on your site. It's a weight loss book for everybody, men and women. So
nice.
That's what I'm putting together.
Well, guys, if you need any advice on diet or bodybuilding, Hugo's your man. Hugo is my equivalent in the fitness industry.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Gene. It's amazing. You remember back in the day how we were just you were always giving people advice on audio. I was always giving advice people on fitness. And then you and I came together and we were just like, I don't know, we had like the greatest training sessions ever. I think I should mention that there was a time where we did 10 sets of 10 repetitions of 450-pound squats at the gym. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
We did those damn squats for 30 minutes straight. It was you go, I go, you go, I go. I don't even know how many sets we did, dude. It was crazy. 450 pounds.
I believe me, the herniations in my back remember that.
Oh Lord, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, those were some good days for sure.
Well, Hugo, it's great having you here as a guest on this video celebrating our 20 years. Um, I hope you come back every now and then. And guys, like I said, we've had some great writers and great contributors to this site. Unfortunately, I can't get them all on YouTube to acknowledge them. But anybody that's watching, any of our former writers or anyone that's contributed to the Audioholics website and the Audioholics mantra, are pursuing the truth in audio. I thank you guys for being involved and helping me perceive and achieve, I should say, this dream of no BS in audio. So I
And
hope we could keep this going for another 20 or more years.
you know what, Gene, and honestly, I really take my hat off to you, because I'm sincere when I tell you that, the reason I joined you to help you market the site is because I really believe in the mission of Audioholics. And, it's a shame that we have so many issues with Google and the algorithm and stuff like that, because Audioholics is like the best site out there in terms of the kind of content that is posted. I feel that when people go to Audioholics, even if they're just beginners and they don't know anything about audio, they can become audio experts over the course of time just by reading all the detailed, informative articles of Audioholics. So, now it sounds like I'm marketing the site, which I'm doing, but that's just my true belief that comes from the heart. So, anyways.
Well, I appreciate that, Hugo, and of course, you're still involved in the scenes. I keep trying to tell people, "Where's Hugo?" They think I murdered you or something. they think I 86'd you. You're wearing concrete galoshes. I threw you in the East River.
No, you know what, guys? I've been super busy not only marketing the Audioholic site, but also at the same time, producing my new books and also working really hard in the real estate industry. So my time has become really, really limited. And that's one of the reasons why, you didn't see me on the videos. But no, I'm not dead. In fact, I disappeared from my own Facebook for like 7 months or something. And people were like, "Are you okay? Are you dead or something?" I'm not dead. I'm back. I promised I'd be back, and I'm back.
I'll be back. Speaking of which, they're coming out with a new Terminator, man.
Isn't that something?
With Sarah Connor, with Linda Hamilton's gonna be back as Sarah Connor.
Unbelievable. Wow. Isn't that something?
We'll
Do you
see
see
how
the
that
last
goes.
one with Arnold on it?
Yeah, that was a mixed bag. I mean, I thought it was cool how he fought his CGI'd self. That was a really good. But then it got a little stupid with the AI thing and how John Connor became Skynet. I was like, oh, come on, guys. I mean, and that it's like they can't even get their own lore correctly. They don't even stick to their own canon. It's like every movie is like it almost forgets what happened in the last movie. They need someone like me to just come in and criticize, because like I do with Star Trek, like I'm all over that Star Trek Discovery social justice warrior nonsense, and I take a lot of heat on Facebook because I just freaking let them have it. In fact, I got to do a video just on that, how Hollywood is ruining all of our favorite pastimes by making everything so politically correct. It just drives me crazy.
Isn't that something? I mean, whatever happened to just shooting straight and just giving it like it is? I mean, are people that soft these days that people just get offended?
They get hurt. They get hurtfilioma very easily.
Like, come on, man. Come on.
We'll leave that for another topic. Maybe I'll have you back and we'll just talk movies, man. I think that'll be really fun.
You bet. And we'll have to do an audio video or two. We need to debunk something else. We need to talk cables again. People love cables.
I'm working on I'm going to be working on a cable test for everybody that says they want to hear a listening test. I'm going to be measuring the transfer function of cables hooked up to speakers, showing all the measurements, and then maybe doing listening tests. People have been asking me, so maybe later in the year or next year I'll have that going, and I'll bring you back on and we could talk about that.
Sounds good, man. Awesome. Well, big happy birthday to Audioholics.
Yes, happy birthday, Audioholics. April 18th. It's like a few days away.
Awesome stuff. 20 years. Here's 20 more years, man.
Hopefully by then I'll have the place like on automation, and then we could just sit back and work out or something, because I don't want to be busting my butt for another 20 years. I want to
no.
enjoy the fruits of my labor, hopefully.
Agreed, 100%.
All right, guys, with that said, until next time,
keep listening.
Yeah. Did I do good?
Yeah, you do a little bit of the fill-ins too frequently.